Hello there. Welcome to Eagles In-Game Live, brought to you by Nissan. Amy Fadool alongside Ron Jaworski. And Jaws, listen, it's not the prettiest thing we've ever seen, but, you get a touchdown, you get a little bit of movement, and defensively, I think that's where really the Eagles are making their hay.
Well, defensively, they're dominating the football game. The Eagles' defense has been all over Tampa Bay. I mean, 13-3 at the half. This could be 30-3 at the half, quite honestly. The Eagles, bad decision by Jalen throwing the interception. He almost threw another one late at the half there. He's a little bit off, but he's made enough big plays in that first half to give the Eagles a lead. The big difference has really been the Eagles' defense. They have been just stalwart this whole first half, creating sacks, turnovers. Baker Mayfield came into this game with no interceptions, and he's had two already now. Bad throws, bad decision, but it's amazing. When you got 6'5", 330 pounds in front of you, and about 3 or 4 of those guys, you don't see a whole lot.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield is seeing nothing. He's throwing the ball to the Eagles.
Yeah, which has been great to see. Something we talked about on the pregame is getting that pass rush on him, getting him to feel that pressure, because we all know the Eagles are a little bit thin in that secondary. But talk about running the ball. I mean, this is the second-ranked run defense, and right out of the gates, you're thinking, wow, they're going to try to run it down their throats. DeAndre Swift had a couple of really big runs. Do you think that is something they can go back to a little bit in the second half?
Yeah, I think to a certain degree they got away from the run a little bit. I mean, they were just hammering them. I mean, it was 7-8 yards every time they turned around and handed the ball off. And sometimes, coordinators see all those shiny toys. They see Smith, they see Goddard, they see Brown. They get, and they forget about turn around and hand the ball off. We're knocking them off the ball. Put it in the offensive line, which has been phenomenal. Pass protection has been tremendous. And Tampa is trying everything they can. Todd Bowles is throwing the kitchen sink at Jalen right now as far as blitzes, creative blitzes, designer blitzes. The offensive line is picking them all up, and Jalen's getting the ball out of his hand. The fact that we only have 13 points, probably the most disappointing thing, because we've dominated the football game.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I saw the stat in there, 37% of the time on pass plays, the Bucs blitz. That leads the league in any category of that nature. But they're really trying to make him uncomfortable. They did get him to throw that one decision that was poor. But, when you look at it, did you really think we'd be talking about an Olamide Zaccheaus touchdown for the first touchdown, now the only touchdown of the first half?
He's playing phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's had a couple big catches, and it was a great throw.
Sure was.
It was a
What
great throw by Jalen, because the offensive line gave him, probably, if we put the stopwatch on, I think probably about 6 or 7 seconds. I mean, he scanned the field. He looked right. He looked left. He looked right. He came back left and found Zaccheaus coming over the middle and made a nice, soft touch throw, because that's not a ball you want to rifle in there and keep it about 8 feet off the ground. He threw it about 12 feet off the ground, so even a high-jumping safety in the middle of center field couldn't make the play.
Through the first quarter, it seemed like there was almost no design run plays for Jalen Hurts. Do you think that's by design at this point, because they do want him to not rely on that as much and maybe use it as the third or fourth or fifth option?
Well, I'll tell you what I like. I like Jalen to throw the football, not run the football. I am just, there are times where you can call a couple designed runs occasionally, but Jalen is such a valuable player. I do not want to see him in harm's way to get a first down. I mean, you may find out later in the season or later in the game where you need him to make a play, where you go to that. But those zone reads, RPOs, and taking those hits, I just think are unnecessary. I want Jalen healthy at the end of the season, not miss 3 or 4 games like he did last year with, a Chicago Bear falling on him and, busting up a couple of ribs. And, then he's out for games. And although he finished obviously very strong, you want your quarterback availability. A lot of times more about availability than anything else.
Yeah, they say it's the best ability is that availability.
You got that right.
Reed Blankenship missed that game last week, dealing with the injury. Back this week, comes across, makes a heck of a read on a Baker Mayfield. You mentioned he had not thrown any interceptions, Baker Mayfield, very uncharacteristic of him. But what a play to come back from that and to make the read, because it looked like it was a surefire touchdown.
Read the quarterback's eyes. He'll take you right to the football. I mean, you could tell he was a quarter fielder away from where the ball was going. So he had to go about 20 or 30 yards to get, but he read Baker Mayfield the entire time, got a jump on the ball, made the interception. He also has made some great plays in the running game. He's coming off what we call a corner cat, the corner coming off the edge. I mean, he starts out at the free safe position, comes down off the corner and making plays for losses in the running game. So, and Reed Blankenship's been all over the field so far in the first half. I like that defensive line. They've been playing fantastic.
Yeah, we got to talk a little bit about them. It's something we talked about in the pregame show. Guys like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. I mean, we're hearing their names called almost immediately. Jordan Davis, such a run stopper, but good in the pass rush too. And then you saw what Jalen Carter was able to do. I mean, he has absolutely just burst on the scene and is showing exactly why he is a top pick.
football IQ. You know, here's a guy that's you work in that little 5-foot area down there, condensed area right over the center, and you're taking on double teams and triple teams, and all of a sudden you get a chance to make a play. He turns around, hustles downfield at 330 plus or minus somewhere in that area, and not only has the awareness to get to the ball carrier, but hammer the ball out. Come and just club that ball out. So it's great awareness, great presence of the ball was available to him to possibly get the turnover, and it was a big turnover.
So we're looking at the second half now going forward, 13-3. Like you said, it feels like the Eagles have pretty much commanded the entire possession in that first half. Disappointed that they maybe didn't put up, one more touchdown, make it more like a 20-3, 21-3. But what are you looking for them to do to kind of get things going a little bit more in their favor?
I think they'll stick a little more to the run. They've had some opportunities in the pass play, but the way Tampa's playing right now, there's no need to get crazy.
Yeah.
There really is. And now Tampa normally does not turn the football over. They turn it over in the first half. I'll guarantee you, Todd Bowles is telling them right now, we got to have a little better pass protection up front. They're getting some pressure up the middle, but we're getting receivers open downfield. The game opened with a couple incompletions by Baker Mayfield that were big plays. One a potential bigger play. He's missed them. So you got to keep the pressure on Baker Mayfield, force him to move in the pocket, which is not what he likes to do. And I'll tell you, Todd's telling the same too. We're gonna have to turn up the blitzes, guys. So we better get to the quarterback, or else we're gonna get beat for big plays. So I can just see what Todd Bowles is doing, and what Nick's doing. Say, hey, just take care of the football, and we got to win.
The secondary, you mentioned it. No Avonte Maddox, obviously out likely for the season with that torn pectoral muscle. And we were kind of guessing what they were going to do in that back half of that defense, move James Bradbury around. We saw Sidney Brown come up and make that great play. And then now he's listed as questionable to return in this one. Is that a concern at all going in the second half? Because they have such elite receivers in Mike Evans and obviously Chris Godwin.
Yeah, no question. They're making those elite receivers become very normal because the ball can't come out of the quarterback's hand in time for those guys to run their routes. So they're covering those receivers with a good pass rush, and that's been the key in that first half. And I think it'll continue in the second half. With a 10-point lead now, you kind of put your feet back and attack the quarterback, attack the line of scrimmage, and make him get rid of the football quickly.
Do you want to see a little bit more aggressiveness on the Eagles' part? I mean, you mentioned the 10-point lead, but of course, a lot of people are going to go back to that game in January 2022 where the Eagles stormed out to the lead, and then it was Tampa Bay who was the one that made all the adjustments.
I just think they stick with what they're doing. They're running the ball very, very effectively. Jalen has been sharp. He's missed a couple. I got to be make everyone aware of that. He's missed a couple that normally Jalen makes, but this offensive line is dominant. It's almost put the game in their hands. I think it's a walk-off win. I just think this is a team that it's 13-3.
Yeah.
I think it should be 24-3, even 20. We've outplayed them that badly in the first half. And we thank them for a couple of gifts. Baker throwing the ball our way, but we're a better football team.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It was obvious in the first quarter when it scores 3-3. We're a better football team. If we don't beat ourselves, Tampa Bay's not going to beat us.
Yeah, I like it. All right, make sure you tune in to Jaws and I, as well as Barrett Brooks and Reuben Frank, and all the post-game reaction on Eagles post-game live. That's coming up on NBC Sports Philadelphia as soon as it's done. Thanks so much for tuning in to Eagles In-Game Live, brought to you by Nissan.